Why step into the marsh? Dear friends, once upon a time there was a youngster, Vardhaman, in the southern part of India. He was well built, strong and courageous, so the traders used to appoint him as their security when transporting goods from one place to another. He used to mingle well with the traders during the journeys. Over a period, he also grasped the nuances of trade quite well. As his compensation as a guard was meagre, he was finding it difficult to make the ends meet. So, he thought of changing his profession. He chose to move from being a guard to a trader. His wife also resonated with this idea and encouraged him to do so. Vardhaman pulled up capital for his new profession with his savings supported by borrowings from relatives and well-wishers. With that capital, he bought things that are made in his part of the country and available at lesser price there. He employed a couple of youngsters to help him around and ventured to northern part of the country to sell it there. The journey was smooth for a distance. On the way, they had to pass through a forest. The journey was tedious. Uneven ground with lots of stones and pebbles made it difficult for the ox to pull the cart carrying the goods. It was tedious even to walk. Suddenly, one of the ox pulling the cart placed its leg on a rock, slipped and sprained its ankle. The pain was intense and it lay down flat. Vardhaman rushed to the ox, released the cart from his neck and diagnosed its leg. There was a fracture in the ankle. He had no other option. He immediately bought another healthy ox from a nearby village and proceeded ahead. He left the wounded ox back in the forest. The ox left behind was Sanjeevakam. The other ox was Nandakam. Sanjeevakam graduated, pulled itself along and limped to a nearby pond. It used to eat what little it could graze by limping around. It drank the water from the pond. By God's grace, gradually the fracture healed and it started moving around freely. In a few days, it regained the lost weight and energy. One day, it had a heavy meal, drank water from the pond, danced and gave out a huge cry. Pingalaka, lion, was the king of that jungle. He had 2 foxes, Karataka and Damanaka, as ministers. The foxes were by nature clever but cunning. They misused their power and authority and harassed smaller animals in the jungle. This dented the king's reputation. When the king came to know of their deeds, he dispensed them from their posts. Other animals started making fun of the 2 fox brothers. The foxes could not bear this humiliation and were looking for an opportunity to regain their position. When our Sanjeevakam gave out a huge cry, Pingalaka was on the other side of the pond about to drink water. The sudden noise frightened him. He never heard such a cry and mistook it as the cry of a more strong and ferocious animal. He could not see Sanjeevaka on the other side of the pond and hence could not relate it to an ox's cry. This forest elected me as the king because of my build and ferocious cry. This cry is more ferocious and frightening to me as well. For sure, this must be some other powerful animal. I guess my days of supremacy in this forest are numbered. What is the option I have now? Worrying thus, Pingalaka went back to his cave, even without drinking the water. Other animals in the jungle also heard this cry. They also did not know the origin of this cry. They remained silent as even the king was frightened and did not know what to do. The fox brothers also were initially shocked on hearing this cry. However, Karateka recovered soon from the shock. He knew the story of the ox. He had seen a trader leaving behind the wounded ox. He thought in a few days that the ox would die and make a fantastic feast for him. To his surprise, he noticed the ox recover, became hale and healthy in a short span. He guessed it should be the cry of the ox. He narrated the story to his brother Damanaka. Damanaka's eyes shone with the hope of getting back the royal purse. He said, "We are the king's ministers. It is responsibility to clear him of his misgivings and doubts when he is in trouble. Let us narrate the story and relieve him of his pain. As we had brought him peace, he will forgive and restore our lost glory." Karateka had a different perspective. He said, "Aren't you satisfied with the pains we had to undergo under his leadership? He would blindly believe what anyone says. He does not think on his own. It is advisable not to serve under such leaders. Damanaka, isn't it better to be independent and free rather than be a slave to such incompetent leaders and face humiliation? Why should we interfere into matters not related to us? Why step into the marsh and then search for water to clean it? Isn't it wise to stay away from the marsh? Does it make sense to get into unrelated subjects and endanger our life like the monkey?" "Monkey? Unrelated matters? Life in danger? What are you talking about? Please tell me in more detail," Damanaka requested Karateka. Karateka started narrating the story of the monkey. Let us learn about the monkey story next month. Till then, bye.